Well, it's been a long haul, but today we are going to try the first Z-axis linear rail. Stay tuned. So this project has been kind of a long time in coming. This actually, the first bracket I've been able to get on the linear rail itself is actually the third rendition. The first one, you look right here, this was not printed really well, and it actually did not fit the rails itself. The shuttles would go up in here, but they wouldn't go up in far enough because this edge right here was a little bit too deep, or I guess not deep enough, however you look at it. So I redesigned this a little bit and I reprinted a second edition. So I got a better print on this one. I got a nice Scrim 3D on the bottom. I dropped this edge a little bit, and still this would not fit on the rail, which means I couldn't even test it on the printer. And then, so this one is the first one that I've actually had that I could actually screw onto the carriages on the rail, had plenty of clearance on the end, so the rail moves up and down just fine. And I still have not even tried to put this on the printer itself, but I have in all of them been able to create this little carriage right here that goes in there for the belt, and includes a nut on the back that will allow you to tighten or loosen the belt at will, which I think is pretty important as it pulls that shuttle in there and back out. So that part worked perfectly. I was able to measure that and get that in there pretty well. But as far as getting all of these pieces, or this one main piece, all measured up and ready to go, let me show you how I did it. I don't know that it was the best way, but I'll show you my process. I did the whole thing through DesignSpark Mechanical, as I almost always do. That software really works well for things like this, and I put a playlist up there wherever it goes for some help videos that I've got for starting out in DesignSpark. I don't have a lot of videos there yet, but they are coming. Which reminds me, take this time to remind people to subscribe. Channel's getting bigger. I'm really enjoying doing this. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. Let me show you my process. So the first thing I started out trying to do here was I tried to create the printer space itself. So I put together the corner with the 40 by 40s with the curves on them, and I've got the 20 by 20 linear rail right there that I need. I tried to make sure that I got the pulley in the same place for the tightener. And that I even had the linear shuttles where I needed the linear shuttles to go, with the linear rail right on the edge there. I colored them a little bit so I could tell the difference of what was going on here. And then I started to create things like this carrier around the pulley, so it looked nice. And then I've spent some time designing the bracket itself, which ends up like that. So now I don't know why my edges along here were too long to begin with, but I tried at least 2 renditions with those being too long, even though my shuttle, my linear rail shuttle here is pretty much an almost perfect rendition of the shuttle itself. And I just have 2 shuttles there, so I have the bolt pattern, everything I need. I want the Z rail carriage to go bolt right on here. These 2 holes right here, top and bottom, would have been on the machine what go into the guide wheels, and this middle one would have been in a bar that goes clear across, a heavy duty bar that would have gone clear across to this 2020 extrusion and through there. So having done this and taken as many measurements as I can and trying to recreate the environment, I have then created this bracket. So if I turn all of those off and turn on the bracket, you can see how it turned out. I have places to embed nuts, which I didn't really embed. I kind of want them to be pulled in and out. This middle one is a 5mm, and these top 2, I've gone with a little smaller screw because the actual Z carriage is threaded. So I really don't want, I just want the threads to go through and grab that nut. I don't really want the threads to grab out here on the carriage itself. Now I'm not certain of the dimensions between these nuts and the vertical 40/40 extrusion. So we're gonna have to check that out right now. But like I said, this has not been on my printer yet, so you are gonna be here for its maiden attachment. If everything goes crazy, we might have to pause, adjust, and retry again later. But for now, let's go try to put this bad boy on the printer. So in anticipation of needing to take this apart, I've already kind of started breaking it down. My belt is kind of over here a little bit. I realized, however, that this is a 40/40 extrusion, and the only T-nuts I have for 40/40 extrusion use an M4 screw, or have M4 threads in them. And my rail here only has holes that allow an M3 screw to go through. So what I've done, and I hope this works, is I've just put an M3 nut on the back, and that's just kind of loose. Because remember, I'm still just retrofitting. I'm still just trying to get this here to see if my bracket actually fits. I need these holes to fit, and I need pretty much everything to fit, because I decided to design a one-piece bracket. So I'm going to go ahead and break the rest of this down and then see about getting this. I hope those T-nuts hold long enough for me to just prototype this, just test it and see what I get. So stay tuned, I'm going to break this down. Now I've taken off all of the guide wheels right here because I believe that my design is going to be rigid enough that I don't need the guide wheels on the back. But if I end up needing the guide wheels on the back, I could probably add them again, but I don't know. It's all brand new to me. These linear rails have no slop, either X, Y, or Z, no directional slop, nothing, so they should hold pretty rigid, should work pretty well. So now let's see if we can get that rail on there temporarily with my makeshift larger T-nuts. I do have some of those being ordered, they're on the way. So if these work, it'll just be for today. Apparently those T-nuts are too wide for just drop in. Maybe I've got some others, I don't know. Because this rail right here is beveled in for the guide wheels. Ooh, now that I feel that, that's not even very smooth. Anyway, since these are beveled in for the guide wheels, maybe these general 40/40 T-nuts are just too fat. I might have to alter some later, as soon as I get some in the mail. But for now, let's see if we can get just a 20/20 T-nut to hang on well enough for our prototyping. I might have to actually cut some off this rail. I didn't even think about that. Wow, I did get that one to catch. It's pretty nice. So I had to get one to catch on the top, and I got one to catch on the bottom. Now I've got my rail going up and down there, which is fine. I now need to actually pull this off of here so I can get this 20/20 in its slot. So I can pull that off of there real fast. I only put 2 screws in there to make sure that everything was measured correctly before I sunk all 8 screws in there. Which, to tell you the truth, my luck with this project, I kind of don't expect everything to be measured correctly. I'm gonna need some more T-nuts for this. Be right back. So for this one, I'm using pretty much the T-nuts that came out of here. I'm only using a couple, even though I've got spots for 4, 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. I don't really want to put that many in before I know whether it works or not and all my measurements are correct or not. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this in there very carefully. There we go. Make sure that the carriages are in the right place. We're not quite on there yet. Go ahead and look inside there. See how my measurements are going. Looks like we're a little bit off. It looks like the end of this top rail is hitting on my plastic right here. And so that's preventing this from going on that little bit extra, which means I think I'm probably done. I mean, I can put these on here, but I can't tighten them down. Nope, they don't even catch. So this is too far away. That's hitting. So my next rendition, I think I'll just take a big chunk out of the top right here, and maybe I'll go with three T-nuts, one on the top and two on the bottom here. Or I could take the linear rail down and cut it, but I don't really want to do that either. So I know I've got to take some top out of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just cut that out really fast any way I can. And then I really want to see if these screws that go in here actually will line up with my screw holes there, because I don't want to, if I can make two changes at once, I'm going to make two changes at once, as long as I know what they are. Now let's try that again and see if we can get it to seat all the way on there, or if my 2020 ends up being too long, which could also happen. Make sure a T-nut works in that back position. I think maybe I didn't clip enough off the bottom there. Just won't go in. The tolerances have got to be pretty tight. So let's see if I can clean up that edge a little bit. There we go. Try it again. There we go. Looking better. Oh, it wasn't easy, but I got it pretty much on there. Now I'm pretty sure it's hitting the end of that 2020, and it still doesn't look like it's fully on. Maybe it is, I don't know, it feels kind of tight. Let's check it out. That is pulling in a little bit tighter than I wanted it to. So this is off a little bit. I will have to make that 2020 sink in there a little bit further. I only missed that by about 5 or 6 millimeters on that rail. And let's go ahead and look and see if these match up. So what I'm looking for is I've got 3 holes here. This one has a number 5, has a 5 millimeter nut in it already, which I hope to just use this 5 millimeter that came out of that hole. Looks like that particular hole lines up pretty good. Let's see if my screw bottoms out, or if it can properly catch that nut. Looks like that properly caught the nut. Doesn't look like it bottomed out particularly. Looks like that goes up and down pretty good just by grabbing it, which is pretty nice. That feels pretty solid. But let's see if I can get those other screws in there. So for this one, I have decided, since this is an M4 that fits these threads, I could either drill out those threads, which I don't really want to do because if this doesn't even work, I might maybe go back to the guide wheels, but I've decided to just throw in there for now an M3 that should go through that hole and back to an M3 nut that's on the other side. So I've got a couple of M3 screws here. That one doesn't seem to want to go in. That one will go in. Maybe I've got this bracket a little bit crooked. There is some play in it. So now I think that hole's not necessarily in the right place. Looks like it's very close though. Maybe if I were to loosen this up a little bit, I might get a little extra slack. It also kind of looks like this pad right here is a little bit too tall. I mean, this is not on a perfect angle at the moment because of this 2020 is too long and it doesn't come through far enough there. I need a few centimeters there, but it looks like it's going to bow my lead screw a little bit if I crank these down. So it does look like that one is awful close, needs to come up. May need to go in. But this is not holding this lead. It's definitely not holding that lead screw straight. Not too happy about that. I did want to use this carriage. I didn't particularly want to redesign a carriage around the corner there. So I think the design is pretty good. So I got my Sharpie. I'm going to bring this in right here. It's got to come in like that. Of course, this isn't a measurement or anything. That's just me reminding me that that's got to come in. I'm going to go ahead and take this out on the top right there a little bit to make sure that clears that when I get to my highest printing positions. And then this right here for the 2020's got to come through a little bit. So that'll drop. This will work. And this screw right here has got to come up and in probably 1 millimeter each dimension. All right, that's prototyping. Let's go back to the computer and see if we can make it happen. Well, that's probably it for this part one. I'm on my third design and I just put it on the machine for the first time ever. I've got some T-nuts that I've got to buy, so I have real T-nuts on there, and I have got some designs to change. So stick around for part two and you will see those design changes. I'll show you right how I do them on Design Spark Mechanical. And then when the nuts and everything get here, we will most likely be putting this together permanently, running the Z-axis up and down, checking it out, make sure everything runs straight. We will see you next time. Remember, hit that subscribe button, comment if you like, just keep it civil. Give us a thumbs up so we can mess with the YouTube algorithm, and ring that bell. We will see you out there. What a freaking mess.